That would be the whole story. We're going to tell only half the story. That means only all the good things.
After I saw your room, I think your last life you must be Chinese.
There's an underlying spirituality, obviously, to your culture. That's a cosmic reality. Don't draw and don't paint. All these things that you're good at, don't do those things anymore. Figure out another way to create.
But don't you think that contemporary art, a lot of contemporary art is about politics?
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, I think that there's a lot of powerful art being made because of these voices that need to be heard. You have to feel it. The art operates as a mirror, then you will find yourself in it.
So your mother must be very proud. At the age of 13, you start making money.
Well, I mean, then
But-
she at that time, she's like, okay, where's my cut?
Welcome to Pearl Lam Podcast. Now I'm in Brooklyn, sitting inside Leonardo Drew's studio. Leonardo Drew is one of my favorite artists, even though sometimes he's horrible to me. Leonardo, can you tell the audience about a little bit about yourself, because there are audience who are not even in the art world.
Well,
How horrible you are to me.
that would be the whole story. We're going to tell only half the story. That means only all the good things. The fact that you invited me to China, which I am so in debt for this. It's a magical situation. Being able to do 4 years, I think, right, back and forth to China. I mean, that long ass plane ride is problematic, but in the end, it's the kind of experiences that I had there with the folks in Jingzhen. In the foundry, it was just, I mean, my work is still affected by that situation. The colors were not a part of how I saw things and works before China. And I don't know if you recognize that fact, but colors all of a sudden became a thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah.
So can you kindly to say how you all started?
How I started.
How I started? I know
Listen,
you
honey, I was
from.
born, I
Yeah.
was born an artist. I mean, I think that most true artists are actually born that way. I mean, like we're addicts and we have to make. My mother was not necessarily supportive, but I think having that obstacle definitely rooted me into understanding that I am actually this. I am an addict.
You
I'm
grew
ma-
up
I'm a
in
maker.
you grew up in Connecticut, right?
I grew up in Connecticut. Was born in Tallahassee. Mother moved us to Connecticut for work, and then from there it was just meeting some of the folks who were doing the comics like Marvel and DC comics.
Yes, I was told.
Yeah.
14 years old, you
Yeah,
were making
13.
money.
13.
13 years old, we were making money by drawing cartoons for Marvels.
Yeah, well, they hadn't hired me. They were asking me to sort of join them. So it was either DC or Marvel. And I think at the time the Superman movie was out with Christopher Reeve, and DC was using it as sort of like a bargaining chip, so to get me to sort of like work with them and not with Marvel. My times have changed, so it's like interesting to sort of know that.
At 13, they were,
Well, I
wow.
was at that, I was exhibiting at 13. When I was like
Exhibiting-
16 was when they were approaching
I mean,
me.
13, you were exhibiting in where? Where do you
In a place, Westport, Connecticut, which is the richer or ritzier side of Connecticut. Where I grew up in Bridgeport, and in the projects, and with the landfill actually surrounded our projects, and people say, well, that's why I was inspired or this and that. But the truth of the matter is, I did use that as my playground. No one else actually saw worth in that material, but I did. And Bridgeport being what it is, I mean, it's like a version of Detroit, always bankrupt. And growing up in the hood definitely honed my survival skills. Interesting when DC and Marvel would approach me,
But the
you would have
thing
thought
is-
that I would use that as a
Yeah,
way
but
to
the
sort of
thing
get out
is,
of that situation.
a child growing up in a project, your parents, your mother must be so worried that you want to draw instead of doing some useful jobs that will have with a secure income.
Well, this is the very reason why she wasn't supportive
Yeah,
of what I was doing.
of course, I can
Yeah.
I can understand. But when you go to school, how do you find out that you have this artistic talent?
Well, I mean, like I said, I was drawing on everything and anything. So it wasn't like it was a hidden thing. I mean, it's like it's like my mother didn't understand it, but I mean, I need to make things. And when I got to Catholic school, the nuns, they said, Leonardo, like Leonardo da Vinci, and I was like, wow. All this time I had been getting beat up for this name, and
Yes,
then realizing that
Can
there's
you
another
imagine Leonardo? Oh my God!
in the projects. No,
African American Leonardo.
no, that's a beating. That's a beating. So it's like, and I endured that until I learned that Leonardo da Vinci, yes, indeed,
Leonardo
it's like
da Vinci.
as a namesake. I have to grab at that one. So yeah,
So your mother must be very proud. At the age of 13, you start making money.
well, I mean, then
But
she at that time she's like, okay, where's my cut? There's no, there's no way of sort of like hiding, a 13-year-old hiding that much money coming in from selling art. And if I'm making these paintings and drawings, in our small apartment, she knew that this is a bankable situation.
a bankable position. So by 60, when you have Marvels and DC asking you, and she must be feeling very secure that you have a career.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had to mess that up because once I saw Jackson Pollock, it was
I
okay.
saw that.
And so you had to throw that out, It's
No
like, there's
more
no way.
DC.
No, it's like, no. I mean, it's one thing to have that kind of facility, but to understand what to do with it. I mean, you look at Jackson Pollock, it's like a no-brainer. I
Of
mean, he
course.
is penetrating the surface. He's actually, his work is, there's substance behind that surface. So I think that was what I was reading, and I was affected by that, and obviously it led me into abstraction. So I gave up on this idea.
So
of
you
like,
took all the money you saved and then got yourself into art
school.
college.
That's right. That was correct. At Parsons School of Design.
Yeah, but that's pretty amazing. You save money at the age of 13.
Yeah, like interesting. I mean, if you're growing up the way I grew up, you had to sort of figure out what you're going to be doing, how is your future going to play out?
But being an African American, okay, after Parsons, is it easy to
Keep in mind, I transferred to Cooper Union. I was only in
Cooper
Parsons for 2
Union,
years.
and then is it easy to establish an artist career as
As a black?
African? Yeah, black artist.
No, hell
Exactly,
no.
exactly. It's tough, right?
Now, keep it also in mind that Jack Whitten was teaching at Cooper
Oh, I
Union.
love Jack Whitten's.
Well, I mean, no one knew who Jack was. I mean, interesting that only in recent history has Jack sort of made his mark.
Yeah. It's only recent.
As he was
It's
as
only
an old
recent.
man, but when I knew him, he was a much younger person teaching at Cooper Union, and fantastic. He became my mentor, father, and visited him like probably every summer, like from 1990 to like 99 in Greece.
Wow.
So no, we were very close, and in the end, the type of life that he projected it's pretty obvious. It's like you're only going to be allowed to teach. The mainstream was not interested in artists of color.
So as black artists at the time when you're growing up, the only example is being a teacher, not being
Exactly,
celebrated as an
exactly.
artist.
And this is what he said it outright. Now he introduced me to a number of other black artists. Mel Edwards, Romar Bearden, who was actually doing making headway. But the fact is that they only allowed like one or two, and I think that in the end, artists like Joe Overstreet, Jack,
Yeah.
William T. It's a long list of artists who making serious works, abstractionists, but not being taken seriously, by the mainstream, and sort of like just pushed aside.
You know what? I really need you. After this, I'm going to give you an IG channel. This is a young girl whom I did a podcast with, and he started an IG channel called The Black History of Art, and all the museum people are following her. She's only in her 20s. It's amazing. I did,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she was saying that when she went to Cambridge studying, and there's only 2 black artists
Yeah.
of the art history, and she felt so, all this reaction, and so she established this channel. Then what pushes you? What prompted you?
You're an
even
addict.
to
You have to make.
So even with that example, you're still making it. And then after Cooper Union, how do you start?
Well, I mean, you sort of figure out how, if you're going to make, if you have 24/7 of you, that means that you need to sort of figure out how to make that happen. I did have a job at Christie's East for 2 years,
Doing what?
saving money. I mean, I was head of the video department there. And
Head of video?
Believe it or not, they had a video department. We would go around and videotape different estates.
Oh,
And that's how they
really?
would sell, the items
okay.
in those estates.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I saw what kind of money I was making. I said, if I save this much money, I can actually take 2 years off. And I saved that money and never looked back. I mean, I took the time off. The rest is history. I never had another job. We're talking damn near 30-something years ago. Maybe
But
close to 40.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Leonardo. You are doing cartoons. From cartoons, doing these works.
Yeah.
These work has material cost,
That's
right?
That's correct.
So you need to have not just, normal things, just paint brushes. These will cost money and cost time.
That's correct.
You think 2 years is enough to create?
Interesting that I thought with certainty that, I just needed 2 years to sort of have that 24/7 of me, and things were, and they did. I mean, you can make,
Did you create these works and how?
It wasn't these works. I mean, but we're talking,
you're talking some wood and.
Well, I mean, they like the first successful piece that I created is number 8, which I do own, was made up of like dead animal parts and ropes and strings. It's actually like a sculpted version of Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, I saw the picture.
Yeah. But it's a matter of will and belief that this is what you're put on earth for.
Yeah, but then which is your gallery? Did you have a gallery too?
You're thinking
But you have to
in a way that's kind of linear, and I don't think art is actually made that way. It's not done that way.
But you have to show, right?
No. This is. Keep in mind that this is not something that black artists were. We're not supposed to be. You're not going to be supported. But you have to make. I wanted 2 years of just making. Had nothing to do with actually exhibiting and selling art.
Amazing.
It was just like you have to make the work. Yep, 2 years. Give me 2 years of me making.
Bravo.
And then what the trips were where they made.
So for 2 years, you simply were just
Just
making
make it
the
work.
So number 8, I presume, is your 8th work.
Yes, but the other from one to 7, people say I cannibalize my work. You can only imagine that number 8 is made up of 1 to 7.
Oh.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, so from number 8, you feel more confident.
At that point, people started talking. And,
you still show people, right?
No. People like you could have like artists
Yeah.
who visit, and they start doing like this.
Oh yeah, art
And they
friends.
start doing like this. And then it's just down the chain. And next thing you know, you got people visiting you, curators,
curators.
people who are thinking about doing exhibitions. I need to put this guy in my exhibition. So it was like that. Kingilba Gallery was where I showed number 8 for the first time.
So that means that all these art people that you have met
We're
is
talking
through-
artists.
Yeah, the
fellow
artists. But you have to go to an environment. It's your school, right? You went to the college. You meet the art.
No, they came to my little
How did-
apartment.
how-
Little apartment.
Yeah, but
I'm
how did
sleeping in
they-
the bathtub in Washington Heights. So they came to our apartment. They would see like, oh, look, art was all over the place. We're talking. It was an apartment that was transformed into a studio space. So and then people were like, slumming. They said,
Yeah.
we need to, like the Rebels came out. And they were like, oh my God, I heard about this crazy guy living in Washington Heights, sleeping in his bathtub, making crazy stuff. And so, of course, Mira and Don came out, and You
Yeah,
know, and
Mirror
it's
and
like,
Dawn.
yeah. But there were the others. There were the tons of them, you know, but they were coming out to see the freak.
But therefore you, who was advertising? Friends for friends of friends.
Yeah, people just talking. It works this way in New York. It works just like that.
So okay, so after that, what was your next step?
You get that exhibited. That number 8 was exhibited. The New York Times wrote about it. Village Voice wrote about it, and magazines that couldn't stop writing about it. But mostly they were writing negative things because
But at
the
least
idea
they're
is to
talking
stop you.
about
The
it.
idea is to stop you if you're a black artist from coming into that door. So I needed to be stopped. They did the same thing with Basquiat, you know, and I felt not too far from that period. I was 19. That would have been 1988. Okay.
Ah,
So yeah,
it's
so
around that time. Yeah.
92 is when I came out and started really swinging. But 88 was when I introduced number 8. Yeah. So yeah, they were like, like, okay, is this art? You know, look at the material. It's like he's using dead animals. You know, it's like entangled in. You know, it's just like, what is this? You know, primitive.
But at
He's a primitive.
your name is out there, which is the most important thing.
I
love that.
I love the way you think, honey.
Yeah, you always have to think positive.
I'm making things. I was not as, how do you say, like self-promotional as you're portraying it. It has nothing to do with that. That work was speaking for itself. So that was why it was gaining all that attention. Now, aside from number 8, and then came 1992 is when I really, came out and never went back under. But as a young artist, I mean, you start to sort of
92, you were showing with who?
thread waxing space.
And then that is it a solo show?
Yeah,
And
it
then
was a solo show.
a solo show. So
With
even
a cotton
90
wall piece,
and even
tumbling bags piece,
yeah, that's
all
beautiful.
kinds of.
But
yeah.
1988, even with all the press going against you, it did not pull you down. It actually have other galleries inviting you to join the gallery.
Yeah,
So it's good.
Yeah. But it's a. How do I put it? They always came and got me. DC and Marvel came and got me. It wasn't like I was a kid in the projects going out and saying, "Okay, you please look at my." No, they came and got me then, and they came and got me later.
And at your same era, how about the other black artists? Are they? Do they have the opportunity like you?
Well, I think like at that time was Gary Simmons coming out, Glenn Ligon, my friend
Glenn,
Mary Ward. I'm trying to think who else would have, because Kara came later, much later.
Yeah,
Kara and Mark
came.
Bradford, they came later.
Mark is
we
later,
were working
Mark
on kicking
Bradford
that door down, and
But
between
Glenn
Lorna Simpson.
Oh, Lauren, yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is around that very same period where these artists were we were coming out swinging, and like my work is a lot different than Lorna's and also Glenn and Gary.
But actually, your work is either you love it or you run away from it.
This is true. Yeah, but the fact is you have to deal with it.
Yeah, you have to deal with it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm still a part of the conversation because you have to deal with me.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
And so, do you consider that your journey has been harder than your black contemporary to be successful?
I would say that's. I mean, the young artists who are coming out now. No, I mean, my God, they you would think that they were walking gold, which you know what I mean. It's like and I think that all like credit to the artists who came and kicked that door down. But you
are the generation who were kicking.
Well,
kicking
I mean,
the doors out.
yeah, but the fact is that it's undeniable that abstraction has beginnings on the continent of Africa, and of course by way of oceanic, Native American, all these so-called primitives are the forerunners of abstraction. Picasso, that primitivism exhibition that they had in 1983 at MoMA, went backwards. They thought that they were going to sort of show that these primitives are being civilized by Braque and Picasso and Salvador Dali and just an endless array of artists who've gleaned and found their voices by way of these supposed primitives. But that was not the way that exhibition unfolded. Most people saw that and they were like, oh my God, this is actually the root, the beginning.
Yes, it
you
was
know?
inspired by all these
Exactly.
African
That's right.
masks,
That's right.
Sculptures,
Exactly.
and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously I am definitely a part of that lineage, you know. And you look at some of the great abstractions who are making works now, Jack Whitten, Mark Bradford.
Yeah.
You know, it's just Meritu, Julie Meritu. I mean, it just
I
goes
love
on
Julie
and on and
Meritu.
on.
Yeah.
But they're heavy hitters. They're heavy hitters. And they're abstractionists. But guess what? That's it's in our blood. It's in
I
our
love
blood.
it.
Yeah.
I love it because if you really talk about those African artists in Africa, they are more of the figurative than the abstraction. But with your explanation, you can understand more.
Absolutely.
But how do you, from drawing, sketching on the paper, to doing these very three-dimensional works, and then
I mean, how do
every
you make that
wood,
leap?
yeah, every wood that you pick up, you oxidize it, you burnt it, you do all that sort of things. Where do you come about with your inspiration doing that?
There's a sacrifice that has to be made. If you have that kind of facility, you have to understand that was a crutch. You have to actually tie your hands and make an attempt to realize what is the next iteration or what's possible. So that means that find another way, figure out another way to create, you know? So don't do this. Don't draw and don't paint. All these things that you're good at, don't do those things anymore. Figure out another way to create. Absolutely, that was the formula.
So you were pushing boundaries, okay? Pushing yourself.
Yeah. It's not bravery. It's nothing to do with bravery, by the way.
I don't think it's bravery. I think it is the way
It's
that
an absolute. It's an absolute. It's a necessity.
and also it inspired you because you can push more.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing that. That has been my formula from those early days. I'm still doing that. So as soon as I begin to get comfortable, and you think that I have a signature, then you defy that.
Because the first time I saw your work is at the art fair, and I thought it was very dark because you love to use wood, dark, and so when you recently, after your China trip now has
It's
colors, I thought it was really raw and really primitive because you use the wood, the different way of using wood. You make woods and you make things looks like fine object, but it's not. But what's
become the weather?
Yeah, but
and
what
an
makes
understanding, of cosmically how things are put together. We are not separate from nature. In fact, we are the nature of nature. Our disrespect of nature is the thing that gets us into trouble because we like to separate ourselves from it and believe that we are superior to it. But in the end, the earth will continue on. Ask the dinosaurs about that one.
Yeah.
We'll be gone. So we're not what we're worried or concerned about actually inevitably ends up being about us. Whether or not we will survive. The earth will continue. We'll move on to this next iteration.
What amazes me is, okay, you're black, you are African. Today, when I saw your
Make that
room,
distinction,
I
African
saw
American.
your room.
Yes.
It's all Chinese. All Chinese. Chinese chairs, Chinese screen. Oh my God. After I saw your room, I think your last life you must be Chinese.
Asian,
You have more
Asian for sure. Possibly Japanese. Your favorite
I mean-
other folks.
I mean, you have collected more Chinese collectibles than I ever have.
Yeah, but there's an underlying spirituality, obviously, to your culture that's probably closer to having an understanding of cosmic realities.
I was so shocked. Last time when I visited your studio with my Chinese artist, you wouldn't even allow us to go up. You only took Xiaoba, the Chinese artist, upstairs. When I saw it, I said,
Deep respect for Xu Jiabao. He's
my
a great
God,
artist. Yeah.
you have a hidden side. And now I realize why you love China. I want to talk about your experience when you were making the works in
China.
And in China, because from making woods that looks like fine objects to these very dedicated porcelain, which you use broken porcelain to make the work. It is very different. And also, that was the first time I really saw colors.
Right.
Yeah, all the blue colors and all. What is the feeling of being in a porcelain workshop, seeing how they make porcelain to incorporate it into your
Well,
work?
that situation was very liberating. I mean, we're talking, China being one of the cradles of civilization, and Jingdezhen being ground zero for porcelain. Finding myself there was just, my God, it was just, I'm going back, right?
Yeah,
I'm going back. I'm returning. But 4 years
4
of
years.
back and forth. It was 4 years.
But it's very
Yeah.
funny because when I went and visit you,
Mm.
I walked through the town, and then you were friends with with all the street the the street hawkers that you were all making, and then you commissioned them to make handbags, and you were saying hello to everyone. And then when we lost you, we just need to say, "Oh, where's the black man?" Oh, he's there. He's in the Korean work. I mean,
goodness.
canteen place. Go there to find him.
No, that's
Amazing.
well, that is one of the blessings. Let's put it that way. I'm always good with people, and language is not a barrier.
I think you're
So,
the
yeah.
only black man in Jingdezhen.
Yeah, it's a special situation.
It was
It's a special situation, and you know that when I was making those smashed pieces, that they were throwing them out initially, Dragon and the whole crew, because they thought that it was garbage, and I had to explain to them that no, this is actually the artwork. This is not garbage.
before you went to China. You never been to Hong Kong or China, right?
Japan, yes.
Japan, only
Yes.
Japan. But Japan is not as raw as
No,
as
it is not.
Jingdezhen.
I can say that's the truth.
Yeah.
I saw some things in China that has I don't think we even say on tape, but but it is pretty incredible. Hong Kong is not mainland China.
Hong Kong is not, definitely not.
It's not.
With the U.S.-China conflict, huge conflict in the art world today, do you feel that you're discouraged to
No.
work in China or to do things in China? What is the perception of artists? We have galleries who has refused to even join Hong Kong Art Basel. Because in Hong Kong in 2019 there was this protest, and then some of the American galleries were saying to me, "Wow, there's no human rights in Hong Kong and all that," which is not true. But that was a general,
Sure.
perception. So you don't have that at all, or
No.
do you? What
No.
would
Zero.
Zero.
I mean, I think that making these connections on other levels, the politics of us, it's always problematic. When I say us, I mean the collective us. It's problematic. If you care to, I mean, you can sort of just pick at just about anything and find, in terms of this politics, that you will be on the opposite side of that. I have zero interest in that. I need to sort of put myself around other creative folks and actually have a fair trade-off, a true trade-off. And that's what I experienced when I was there, and I'm sure I'll experience that very same thing when I go back there.
But don't you think that contemporary art, a lot of contemporary art is about politics?
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, I think that there's a lot of powerful art being made because of these voices that need to be heard. I'm sure that my work is because I number the works, and it allows the viewer to sort of find the politics of what I'm creating. But the fact is, the works are mirrors, so you should be allowed to have your full-on experience without me getting in the way and telling you what you should be seeing, or what what my politics are. It's not that
So
important.
and so if anyone asks you about the series that you are working in and in China, what is your intention? What is the concept behind it? What do we say?
Well, I'm just telling them to stand in front of it. Stand in front of it. It's a mirror. Find yourself.
Right.
It's very simple. It's not complicated. Yeah. And these black holes anyway will draw you in. You know what I mean? So then you'll have to deal with it. But if you go around looking for the placard with my description of what you should be seeing, you're not going to find it. You'll see a number. Good luck.
let's talk also about your explosion work. Okay, because after China, you came back, and there was this huge installation in Basel, and then it's amazing. You took over the whole space, and all the works is exploded like these, exploded out, and but with all these beautiful colors dripping down. And I thought, wow, wow, that's new Leonardo, not black, brown, there's colors. Now you just said that. Now colors has
Part of my
become
vocabulary.
your vocabulary.
Right.
So have you been feeling very comfortable? Have you? I mean, you need to live with colors, right?
I think it's an effect. Yeah.
Yeah. How can you believe that you could live without colors for all those decades?
Interesting question, but it was what was naturally coming out of me. Keep in mind that I started out as a painter, and I do have an understanding of color. It's just that when I tied my hands, it was like, okay, remember, no more painting, no more drawing. With painting comes color.
Yeah.
So the very first things that I did once I made that decision that I was not going to be doing what I was comfortable doing, I started doing just black shapes, cut out black shapes, no color, because that was not allowed. And in the end, that continued to permeate all the works thereafter. So dark became, the hue, or monochromatic.
Yeah, because a lot of works at that time was also wooden works.
That's right.
Woodworks, dark woodworks.
Keep in mind that there are certain periods. There's cast paper.
Yeah.
There's cotton. There's
Cotton,
wood.
vanilla.
The wood is actually been around the longest, but I've been continue sort of like transform it, into different iterations. But in the end, there've been like the rust works. There's a if you go through my catalog, you'll realize that there's a number of
So what should we expect? Because you're doing several shows, right, this year. Shanghai, you're opening the show in November. So before then, you just told me you're doing a show in Paris.
That's right.
In
May 16th.
In May 16th, and then September you're doing
New York.
So are these shows going to be showing different pieces, different series, or?
Yeah, I mean, like I have shifting moods, so I think that I think that I'm attempting to sort of introduce the next, trying to get to the next plateau. So I think that you test yourself, you ask questions, and then you sort of like, because I'm an artist, I have to actually, my answers to those questions have to be material. So if we were to get into like the artist's mind in terms of what like the philosophy of why you make things, always, I think for each artist, I mean, once you find your voice, you do have a handle on your materiality, your trajectory, who you are in this picture. When it comes to why I only number the works and not title the works, the idea really behind that is that the viewer should be complicit in finishing the work. They should be allowed to have their full-on experience without me telling them how and what they should be seeing. So if they're standing in front of the work and they have the impetus to sort of like, I wonder what this is about, and they go looking for the placard that says, okay, this is how you should see this work, and I'm going to explain it to you. I am not going to give that to you.
No, you have to feel it, right?
You have to feel it, and the mirror, and if the art operates as a mirror, then you will find yourself in it. You don't necessarily have to, go through me in order to find yourself. So I'm just holding up a mirror. That's what the works are. It's just that simple. It's not overcomplicated. It's not, like the politics of me, or me trying to sort of like hold the idea that I'm the be all and know all. No, actually, I need you in order to finish this. You are complicit in realizing it.
Right. And go on and talk. I mean, numbers. What? Number one,
well, it's a way of just cataloging.
I mean, yeah. So does it mean that if it is 302, it is the 302nd work?
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, you can pretty much tell where I am historically based on the numbers. If I started with number 8 and I'm on like what am I 300 and something or whatever, I mean, and they're offshoot numbers. Like for instance, your works are labeled C for China. There's the gallery in Texas. That's T for Texas. New York is the only one that's actually single, and that is the true sort of like
Right.
But the offshoot numbers are just as important. But it's necessary to sort of know.
Hold on. I didn't realize that even in Texas, you start a workshop there now.
Well, we have a
You're
studio in
saying
Texas, in San Antonio.
San Antonio? I thought you were just going there to relax.
I
You have a
don't-
time.
relax. What do you mean, relax? I mean,
I
look
thought it's a
around
new
you.
you.
No, relax is
I
not
thought
a
it's a
part
new
of.
you,
No,
right?
relax
A new
is,
you. So it's in
I
San
don't,
Antonio.
that is something that's not really going to be happening. As a matter of fact, I'm on my way to get knee replacements and actually get my hands worked on because
Why
from all of this beating, comes the payment. Which is you're going to have arthritis. You're going to have you need knee replacements. Yeah, it's time.
It's time.
I'm a little early, but the fact is, if I'm doing 24/7 almost, my hours I've cut back on some. It's no longer like 18-hour days. Say
But
14-hour
work for
days.
you is enjoyment, which is
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's what I know.
Okay, another topic that would like you to address is nature, your connection with nature.
Let me go back to the nature of nature. All right. So if you are of the mind to sort of like line yourself up with nature, things natural, meaning like just have a reverence for how things are made. If I say that I'm going to become the weather in order to sort of realize my work, the aging processes that we all sort of go through, materials go through it, we go through it also.
Of
We
course.
age. So the idea of decay, absolute signature has been my voice probably since number 8. Number 8, being made up of, guess what? Decayed animal parts, entangled in rope. I mean, it's in effect, it's a sculpted Jackson Pollock. As you sort of like move forward, you got to know that once you find your voice, no matter what material you use in the end, it's going to become you. Once you find your voice, that's it. So my transitions from one material to the other, like from rust to cotton to cast paper to wood. There was a moment where I wanted to challenge that, and I said, what if I just took just white paper and created like works from just that. No, this is going back to that very same reasoning, like when I decided like to tie my hands when I was using my facility. So it was like, okay, now you've gotten to a comfortable a situation again, and you need to challenge that. If rust is your strength, strip that away. If black is your strength, strip that away and just work with white. Let's see what happens. For 3 years, I just worked with just cast paper, and like in the end, once the actual works were realized, guess what? Still had the same emotional gravitas, the same weight, the same monster, was being created. And there's a reason for that, because once you find your voice, it doesn't matter what material you're working with, you will find yourself,
I hope the listener who's listening to Spotify and Apple would be Googling
That's correct.
your artworks.
If they're
and
interested, they should.
Yeah.
I mean, like Google does a whole lot better than a website. I
because
can't even keep up with the
because
images.
what Leonardo is saying is like a philosopher. Just look at the work and it reflect yourself. This is
Bingo.
a mirror of
Exactly.
yourself. Because you have a dialogue with the work and you understand yourself.
There you go. That is correct. You hit it, honey.
You just mentioned in 1988 the art critics give you a hard time by really demolishing you and telling it, I mean, not understanding your work, was trying to bar you from entering the art world. Can you tell me what actually, what are they actually
What were they
criticism?
saying?
Yeah, what did they saying?
Well,
What were they saying?
you know, they obviously the questions. I mean, whether or not that material that I was using, there's non-traditional materials, not using paint, not using, sculpt clay for sculpting or anything that was sort of like
Traditional?
traditional material. But now, I was like forerunner to a lot of the artists who are using this material now. So they're interesting that they chose that as a way of sort of like not allowing me to be a part of the canon. And at this moment, like you can't swing a dead cat without seeing an artist using non-traditional materials. So it wasn't something that I felt was of any sort of substance, meaning. I needed to make. And as an artist, it's like, whether or not you're breaking, boundaries, maybe really that's kind of like the point. If you're a fine artist, that you actually should be asking questions and adding to the overarching language. So you should be a part of the push forward.
No, of course, of course.
Yeah.
And how about today? What will currently are there any art critics good or bad? What is
Well,
tell me
good, bad. Keep in mind that if I say that there's no real truth to like what you're seeing, because it's what your interpretation is actually your truth. So you allow the viewer and critic, to write, to say whatever they need to say. They're on their journey. You're on your journey. Two different trajectories. And a lot of times they do meet.
Yes.
People are very, obviously I've been around like for eons now. So they're the reverence and respect for like, someone who's like a cockroach that doesn't disappear, So, really in the end, they sort of bend to, my philosophy now. But before they would say, oh, he's using found objects. Lazy, because I don't use found objects, They were just assuming that that's because it echoed something found, that it was a found object, but actually store-bought materials have been transformed.
Yeah.
Because I weather these things, I become
the
weather in order to sort of make things, And I think that from there, if we're going to talk about the environmental aspects of my work,
no,
there
hold on
lies.
First.
There lies.
Hold on first. I need to ask, were there any misinterpretation about your works? Does people think differently? I did
say that there is no misinterpretation.
Yeah, because it's about yourself.
That's right. Exactly.
About yourself. Do you care about sustainability and environment? Sometimes,
listen, an awareness of how things are actually created naturally. If you line yourself up with that, in the end, you will find that you will start to garner, attention from folks who, have an understanding of and reverence for nature, how things are, there's a natural order. We challenge that. But really, we put ourselves in jeopardy, super jeopardy, by challenging that, because we actually place ourselves in a position where we are superior to. And this is exactly what environmentalists are, I'm not hugging trees, but I am definitely lining myself up with the idea that there's a much, much larger force at work here. If you think cosmically, you will start to understand that you need to sort of pull yourself just far enough back so you can actually see what and who we are and how we affect things around us.
But isn't this a very Western philosophy? You conquer, you destroy, and then you say you protect.
Sure. Well,
you protect. This is a really Western philosophy.
It is.
Whereas while Chinese Taoism
well, I'm Chinese.
Chinese Taoism is you protect, you live as equal nature and person. Right. You live together and you respect the environment. You respect the nature and you don't conquer, and then you say that I protect.
Well, this is my reverence for, Eastern philosophy, So how I make my way through this life. And I'm not just talking how I make and create, but actually how I live my life. It has been, one that, attempts to have synergy
Yeah,
with those
synergy.
things
Yeah,
natural.
harmony.
Yeah, harmony, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a balance. Um, at
Oh,
some
that is
point we'll
very
be returned
Chinese.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but
that's very
yeah,
Taoist.
yeah. But it's simplistic. It actually removes the ego from the equation and allows you to have clarity. And I think through all this, if there was a blessing in all of this, it's not the fact that I can actually make things, but it's the clarity. This clarity is actually the blessing.
So now, as an African American black artist now, diversified has been such a big thing for the last 10 years. Now, of course, we just talk about the younger black artists and how lucky they are. You said that they are, I mean, did you say about they are, it's like the golden age. So do you see that your career, because of this environment, will be, I mean, people will pay more attention?
Well, it's that's neither here nor there. I mean, the public's perception is fickle, so they are going to sort of love you today and hate you tomorrow. So you don't really want to invest in that kind of nonsense. You need to sort of understand what your journey is and how you sort of have to navigate your time on this planet, which is short. It's really relatively short. And if you can have fair trade-offs with others, it just adds to the level of the experience.
Leonardo, so if there is any young black artist now coming and wanting to be an artist, what sort of tips will you give them and how should they start?
Well, I mean, I might be the worst person to actually to ask or to answer that question, but when it comes to having for a young artist, having an understanding of why you are making things, your need to make things, it has to be addressed. I have definitely had young artists who approached me and said things like, "Well, I would be making more work if I had an exhibition." Already, that's this person is already on the wrong path. A more serious way of navigating this art life is not buy into the idea that you should be rewarded for what you create. Just make what you do. Do what you make things. Create. And if success comes, great. If it doesn't, if you bow out because of that, what does that mean? You're not an artist. You know what I mean? So just
You have to from here.
Just
Yeah.
if you have the hunger, if you're
You
addicted
have to
to
be
making,
hungry.
then it becomes like a simple way of living. You definitely will glean the most out of your life if you commit to this thing that if you're put on this earth to make, then you should be making.
Thank you, Leonardo. What a nice tip for the end. We really, I think it's great that you have encouraged artists to feel, and they have to be hungry. I mean, even if you are the most talented artist, if you are not hungry, you will never get it. You will never.
Well, you have to need to make.
Achieve. Yeah. Thank you so much, Leo. Love,
My
love,
pleasure.
love, love,
My
love,
pleasure.
love.
One of my favorite people on the planet.